All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Carabio. Welcome to Make Your Mark. I'm really excited today, not only to have our special guest speaker, Jason Smith, but also this was not intentional by any means, but today the Fed is actually meeting
Hmm.
today. And man, I feel like Jason's always on top because I follow Jason. Not only do I work with Jason, but Jason is always providing this value and talking about these things on his social media. And so we'll get a little bit into the nitty gritty and the current market. But Jason, man, I'm so glad you're here today. Um, you're a top lender, nationally ranked. And the reason why I wanted you to come on today was because you always provide really great insights in the market. No one holds the crystal ball, but you're
Oh,
you're always like pretty on par on where we're heading in the market. And so before we get started, let's start where um, you have a interesting military background. I kind of want to just dive into that and kind of how the mindset that has played in your role as being a lender.
well, first and foremost, I'm honored to be here. So thank you, man. I love you to death, Michael. We've worked together for a while now,
Yeah.
and you've always been amazing. So the military part is just that extreme discipline. You know, one of my favorite guys is Jocko. He talks about that all the time. He says the obvious, turns it into his coin phrase, and it's just gold. And it's just that discipline to be able to do the same things every day and then improve on those little by little by little and just constantly be obsessed with being better, you know. And that's my goal, is to constantly be better, because that way I can be better for all of you.
Yeah, no, I love it. And what does your day to day look like? Like as soon as you wake up, like how do you get your mind right? Because you obviously handle a lot of prequels, a lot of files. You run a really big team. Like I really want people to understand the not only the weight that is on your shoulders, but like how you're able to do it all. Not only that, you're a father, your
Thank you.
husband, like you got a lot of stuff going on. Like what's the main thing that drives you?
You got to command your morning. When you get up, you have to take control of that. And it's first thing I do when I get up, obviously, a cup of nitro coffee, cold brew, walk outside. I do Wim Hof breathing, which is like my form of meditation in the mornings. It actually helps with nerves and getting ready for the day and just preparing for things. And then obviously a workout in shortly thereafter that. And then, you know, spend some time with my family before they head off and I head off to our day, so I can get some quality time in, because the amount of hours that I usually work. So I get myself right, very regimented in the morning, and then when I get to the office, it sounds funny, but I've heard this from Bill Gates and multiple people that were CEOs. Is I literally handwrite a to-do list of everything, the non-negotiables, what I have to do, my goals for the day, things I need to accomplish,
Yeah.
and by putting it to paper and physically writing it, I feel like it makes a bigger impression in your psyche that you're going to get it done. It holds you more accountable. So yeah, just getting your day set up appropriately and just doing that every day, creating that regimen for yourselves, because it helps you kind of ease into the chaos a little bit easier.
Yeah. Jason, you weren't always at the top. Like, can you share a little bit about what the beginning of the lending world looked like for you and how you became, the man that you are today, not just in business, but just in life?
Um, it's a journey. You have to enjoy it. And part of that is going to be getting bumps and bruises. You're going to get hit along the way. You're going to make mistakes. Um, Understand that mistakes are getting better. It doesn't mean that it's okay. You have to burn it into your subconscious so you don't make that mistake ever again. But um, the biggest thing that opened all the keys to me as a lender is literally reading my guidelines and freshening up all the time on lending.
Yeah.
And that might be a slower burn than just being a more salesy, but when you become a tactician in this, the confidence comes from that to create and make you a better salesperson with this. And then, you know, just instill that confidence in people. So it's the path was hard. It's never easy, but the one thing I can tell you, and everybody hears this all the time, is if you can just outwork everybody in the room, you're going to beat the majority in this market, regardless if it's real estate or mortgage. When you're willing to put in more work, the reps happen, the opportunities happen, and you just have to keep going when everybody's shutting down, like in markets like this where it can be difficult. Don't let off the gas.
Yeah. 100%, man. Thank you for your
Hmm.
insights. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I wanted everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit on a personal level as well.
Thank
And
you.
so let's go ahead and transition into the current state of the market. Can you give us like a
Hmm.
quick snapshot of what you're seeing as a lender? Because obviously, we all play different roles. Like on the title side right now, we're seeing a lot of cancellations, unfortunately, and I'm actually hearing it from
Hmm.
quite a few of people, quite a few agents, quite a few partners that we work with. And then, where do you see the market right now, and just kind of wrapping up to the end of the year?
That's a great two-part question right there, because the nervousness come for the clients that are canceling during these escrows, and I've seen it myself, is the uncertainty of where things are going. And
Yeah.
that's why it's very important. I'm going to talk about, and that's a great question, of where the market's going to head, guys, like where we're at, how we got here. Because a lot of these clients that are canceling are going to miss out on big opportunities. This isn't just about making a commission, right? This is about changing those people's lives, right? Those families. It's like a butterfly effect. They don't think about the fact of what they're going to leave behind for their children, because they don't think about the equity, because they don't get to see it. It's not tangible, right? And we have to discuss that. And
Right.
getting in front of a lot of these, specifically a lot of first-time home buyers that we deal with, or basically is educating them. And that's what I want you guys to leave here with today. So let's kind of talk about how we got here. So inflation took off, the short synopsis of it, and then Jerome Powell and the Fed had to raise interest rates 11 times. Historically, some of the highest and fastest raises we've ever seen. And that was because the data that they were going off of was incorrect, and they were late to the party raising the rates in order to get inflation come down. The only way to get inflation to come down is to raise the cost of things and everything else to get people to start spending less and bring things down, right? Same thing with homes and everything else. So now where we're sitting, it was kind of unfortunate that during this, like this economy that we're in, that the election was happening. Right now, I'm not going to get into Republican or Democrat. I don't mess with that on these phone calls, but you have to speak about the fact that we were in an election year. And for a politician, regardless of what side you're on, their job is to get, if they don't get reelected, they're unemployed, right? Or if they don't get elected, they're unemployed at that point in time for the most part. So a lot of the data that Jerome Powell and them have been going off of prior to where we are now and during the election was coming from BLS. And I believe a lot of that data was propped up. And now we're seeing that because I don't know if you saw the annual job report for BLS a few months back of all the job creation that they reported on, which that influences the Federal Reserve because they don't want to cut rates if the economy is really strong and there's a lot of job creation. But
Wasn't it like a bad jobs report? Like they
oh,
came back and reviewed it and it was like way completely off.
it was, they said 1.8 million jobs annually were created, and over 900,000, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, were actually incorrect when they revised it. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm wrong 50% of the time, I usually don't get to keep my job. So
Right,
the
right.
data was incorrect. And then we're seeing now in the recent job reports that the job market is not as healthy. They did let go of the person that was in charge of the BLS. Remember, while we're in the election, if they're making the job and the economy look better, that looks better for the people that are in office to try to get reelected. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not intentional, but you can only hide things behind the curtain for so long and push out data like that before people start really seeing what themselves, just the common people, and seeing what's going on in the market. So they're going to cut rates today. The Federal Reserve will cut today. They might have announced it already. With the government shutdown, they're actually not getting the data because BLS and all these other departments that report on these reports for them, they're not getting those. They're shut down. But
Right.
they know where the data is going, right? They remember these people that run the Fed are meeting with people in Jackson Hole, Miami that run all these mortgage companies, and they're all talking to each other. So they know the data before we do. So they're going to cut today. They're also going to cut in November. The data speaks for it. I will say I have a very nice relationship with the person that runs secondary for cross country here. And what that person's job is to buy and sell mortgages. So they have to know where the market's heading in order to increase profits for the company. And they know people at the Fed. I can't officially say that, but they know that they're cutting both times. Now, one thing I mentioned that was important is Jerome Powell was late to the party with the Fed at raising rates. So that caused inflation to take off faster. Now they're late to the party with their rate cuts. So one of the things I'd like, Michael, if you could bring up for me is the slide on recessions. If you see that, it's the black and red one, I believe. And sorry if the lines on here are hard to see, but let's pull that up on here. Let's see.
This one?
That one right there. Guys, I'm really sorry about this. It doesn't come across well on here, but there's little up and down black lines on here. And what this is mortgage rates during the recessions. And when they raise rates and they cause inflation, the short synopsis of it is they have to cut rates in order to prevent a recession. But if they're too late to the party to start cutting rates, that'll push us into a recession. So you might start hearing that on the news. And for you guys, when you're talking to clients, get ahead of that. Go, hey, in the future, they may talk about recessions, but I can tell you that because you have a very good job, that usually this is the lower level people that might lose their jobs, not somebody like yourself that is positioned well to buy a home. And, just make yourself valuable and bet on yourself because you are going to hear about that. But here, everybody worries about recessions. And then the first thing you think is home prices are going to drop, right? Or home prices are, going to drop, like not just drop, but stay flat. They're not going to appreciate. It's actually the reverse. What's good for the real estate market is that basically values go up in the recession. Maybe not the beginning part, but afterwards, because the only way to pull out of a recession, and forgive me, it's hard to see this graphic on here, is to lower interest rates to pull out of it, right? Just like they're having to do now, because these up and down black lines on here would be the recessions. And every time you can see the line that is the white line on here, which is mortgage rates, they drop every time we're in a recession. And that's a direct correlation to property values, right? Now, going back to the nervousness with the clients, they need to understand that this is happening. And a lot of these first-time homebuyers, you have to have a higher level discussion with them of, do you have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 for closing costs? You don't? Okay. You have to buy when others aren't. Like for now, such as where we're at, because even when the Fed cuts rates these two times, rates may not go down that much. They're not directly tied to mortgage rates. However, when the news starts talking about it, that brings more buyers into the market, and that's going to cause more competition. And a lot of these people have been waiting, and they have money to pay their closing cost. You don't, right? You have to have those higher level conversations.
So that's
Yeah.
good, Jason. Let me stop you right there because you made a good point. So right now, there's some trends that are happening in the current market, and let's just say rates drop today, and then rates drop, one more time in November, whenever the Fed meets again. That's advantage to negotiate those closing costs, or just to help buyers get into a home, are kind of come into a close. So like as of today and like in the past month or so, what are the trends that are you seeing with some of the agents that work with you? What are they getting for their buyers? Like, what are you seeing right now, and the challenges or opportunities that currently stand out to you?
Before you pretty much asked for it, you got it. If you were asking for 4% concessions, maybe the listing agent would be a little upset about it. But, we would have high level conversations where I'd talk to the listing agent or one of my loan officers on my team and just go, this is where the market's at. They can go to the new build and get even more if they want to, right? So now as your seller needs to understand that they can go down the street to this new build and get 6% concessions, or this other house down the street, they can get the 4% they're asking for. I have seen in some areas that it's not as easy to get what you want now. Now they're countering back at higher purchase prices to get that. There might be another offer on the table. I'm seeing on average 2.5 to 3.5, somewhere in there. Three's kind of the magic button on average. But before I was seeing 4, 5, 6% all day long. So there is a little bit of tightening that's happening. And one of the other things that not a lot of people talk about, back to the rates, is the gentleman that's in charge of the Treasury is Scott Bessent. For 4 or 5 months, we keep hearing that. So the Federal Reserve, you have to understand, they buy mortgage-backed securities, then they sell them, and they keep that money. They've been keeping what they call this runoff money. Well, now for the last 4 or 5 months, what they've done before is what they call quantitative easing. And what that is they take that money from selling those mortgage-backed securities and then start buying more mortgage-backed securities. And what that does is makes them more valuable and causes interest rates to come down. And we've been hearing rumors of this for 4 or 5 months. So where there's usually smoke, there's fire, right? Something like that is going to happen. That's going to drive rates down even further. So that probably is not going to start happening, I would say, till the end of this year, beginning of next year. But still, we're going to have 2 rate cuts, which is going to help things a little bit anyways, specifically just consumer confidence. Because one of the things I would tell you guys is the magic number for rates to get to, from what I've seen on the data, is about 5.25%. You got to look at average consumer debt. You have to look at average, like, consumer debt involving car payments, everything else, and average equity. And most home buyers, the data speaks for itself, that if they were to do a sell and buy, sell their home, pay off a lot of debt, including credit cards or even maybe a car payment, and then buy a new home that's in a reasonable price range, that's an upgrade, they would actually be saving money, being less than what they're currently paying between all their consumer debt, their mortgage payment. So the market is going to get crazy when we get down to that 5.25. And I think that's going to start happening in the beginning of next year. And it's really going to pick up. So, like, having listings, having these high level conversations of, hey, the holidays might be a little bit slower, but this is the good news on the horizon, is really important, because you don't want them to cancel the listing with you. You want them to hold on to that. And same with the buyers, getting to understand that the holidays are the best time to buy a home, the absolute best time in Arizona. It's slower around the holidays. Sellers that are selling, there's a reason they're selling. So the buyers need to take advantage of that situation, and just make them understand, like, their financial situation, have those high level conversations.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I call top producers big fish, but I was talking to some big fish
Mm-hmm.
last week and this week, and that's exactly what they're saying is the best time to buy is around the holiday season, where it's slower, where homes kind of stay on the market longer, and you're able to really negotiate and get what you want as a buyer's agent. You talked about rates coming down at the beginning of next year. There's also, like, I know you don't hold the crystal ball. Maybe you do, Jason. I don't know, but
No,
what
no,
about
I wish.
Powell will be out of office in what is
June,
it? May, June? Okay.
June
What
of next year. The one
what do you
thing,
what's
go
your
ahead.
prediction? What's your prediction on that? I'm just curious to hear.
It's going to get interesting. So the Fed members vote to cut rates or not, right? And a couple of the times that they didn't cut, there was a few Fed members that were voting for it. Well, guess who those people are? They're the people on Trump's list to take that off that point and take that position that Jerome Powell is in, that's the ultimate decision maker. And I think it's going to get real interesting. I think that's when it's going to get aggressive with the quantitative easing that I spoke about, buying mortgage-backed securities, and the rate cuts.
Yeah.
I think it's going to really make this economy take off, specifically in real estate. You know, will it be the best thing long term? We'll have to see. You know what I mean? Because obviously in 2021, when things took off, it got, prices went up. It affected, basically affordability for people. I don't think it's going to be that crazy, but I do think we
Yeah.
might scratch the surface of being that busy again. I really, really do. I think it's going to be an interesting time with who's going to be running the Fed. And, my suggestion is get after it now, build that pipeline up so that way you can keep chasing after those clients that you couldn't get off the seat, because when that starts happening, it's go time. You got to make sure somebody else isn't reaching out to your client.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, and I mean, if rates hit, even in the fives, I mean, the market's going to go
Mhm.
crazy. It's going to
It
go
is.
insane. And so, you said it's a great time to, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do, regardless, we don't usually see the benefit about 90 days out. And so,
Mhm.
if you're able to cultivate those relationships now and during the holiday season is the best time to touch on your past clients or even just your sphere alone. Like I just did
Mhm.
a training on this last week. And it's on the Landmark YouTube channel. If you guys want to check it out, like there's some great ideas on how you can just touch your people, make them feel extra special. It gives you a reason for the season to just go and break bread essentially. So um, let's talk about relationships real quick since we're already talking about this.
Okay.
Um, you know, I get to witness. Sorry, I hit my mic. I get to witness this personally because we work together. But like, you're very involved with the realtors as far as helping them understand loan programs, helping them. You're kind of like just really helping them position their buyers into to the best position possible. Like, how big is it to be able to provide that value to them, but also know like or have the agents know that you have their back in the beginning and during the transaction.
It's funny you bring that up. I'm in Miami at our national sales conference, and I was at the dinner with a lot of the top producers last night. And some people are driven by money and numbers. Some people are driven by changing the path of others and helping them out. Relationships, like you're bringing up. And for me, I didn't have much and many opportunities growing up, so I had to create my own path. And relationships, I believe, are everything for long-term sustainability. And if you can make each other better by educating the agents we work with, because then these clients feel like we're advisors and they really put their whole trust into us. So my job is to create them into mini lenders in their own way, basically, so they can kind of already have those conversations to align the clients up where the conversation is going to go with me or somebody on my team at that point
Right.
in time. And then we echo the same things. But ultimately, like I'm here to be a service. It comes from the military, it comes from my upbringing, and educating these people and these agents and even clients and everybody else. There's nothing more gratifying when you start seeing light bulbs go off and people's careers start to take off because of the influence that you've had. And that will really drive you. And the money is a residual. The production comes after that. And
Right.
then you're not constantly chasing and trying to build a new relationship and then going to the next person, next person. You're building long-term sustainability where you really have a need and a desire and a love for each other to support each other and grow together. I feel like it's God's purpose for me. And I think that's what I'm here to do.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Thank
And
you.
you said um being able to make your agents like mini lenders. Sometimes we have lenders on this call, and
Mhm.
I think that is such a huge value because ultimately I've met some agents, whether they're brand new or seasoned or whatever. I mean, their first response when they get a buyer is, hey, talk to my lender, or they just pass them over. But just being able to get all the information that they need, figure out where they're currently at, and then kind of just, have an extra. Um, I mean, you're really handing off maybe a touchdown if you really are able to figure out where that buyer is.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and it probably saves you a bunch of time, 100%, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. The conversations are shorter. We move a lot faster and quicker.
Right.
And the value proposition for a lender should be knowing your guidelines well enough. Sorry, somebody at the hotel was knocking on my door. Knowing your guidelines well enough and trying to bring a few extra closings for those partners every year that other lenders can't by digging in and really knowing that kind of stuff. Because also a lot of agents might disqualify somebody and then essentially they could have been a client and they missed out on a closing. And that's why we're here to educate that way, because if an agent can get two or three extra closings a year, then essentially they can make more money. Sorry, I'm on a conference call. I apologize. Sorry about that, guys.
You're good.
But basically, you're able to help their career. If I could put more money in my agents' pockets by getting closings, they're going to be able to market and build their business further.
Yeah, love that. I love that you said that. And since we're talking about like marketing and stuff, is there any like good tools and resources that you find that are really valuable right now for agents? Or is it really just, staying sharp, knowing the programs that your lender provides? Like what do you think is most effective right now?
I think one of the harder things is competing with the builders, and we all know that they don't approve a lot of people. So then these clients see these rates. 2-for-1 buy downs are amazing right now. I think that's an incredible tool to get their
Yeah.
payment cheaper, specifically knowing that they could refinance with rates going down. Secondly, we offer, and I can send out the verbiage to anybody on here. We offer that we will pay 1% towards the buyer's closing cost on an agent's listing if the buyer will use us. So one of
Mm.
those things is that might save your seller on a $400,000, sales price, $4,000 out of pocket. Also, it might make their property more attractive of, hey, the seller's okay with paying, 2% in closing costs because that's all they have room for. But now us as a lender kicks in 1%. Now that's 3%. That makes it more attractive to the buyer, makes the deal a little bit better, potentially nets your seller more money in some situations, depending. And also like helping them get the listing, as well as we offer an appraisal for $250 where they can order an appraisal on the property to help get the listing, or essentially like keep the listing if the seller's not willing to drop the price. I see you brought up the history here of inflation and responses, so that's a
Yeah,
good
no,
slide.
I know you had one more slide, and I know you're kind of touching on this a little bit, but I didn't
Mhm.
want to not include this. I know we're kind of running out of time here, so I just wanted to
Okay.
bring it up if you wanted to go over a little bit of the Fed history real quick.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. So we've got Burns and Volcker on here, and Alan Greenspan. Those were heads of the Federal Reserve. And if you look in the inflation column, you can see inflation taking off. Then the mortgage rates you can see going from 12 to 18%, which is crazy, and then going from 7 to 8.5, and then the Fed funds rate rising as well, right? Because of that, they're raising the Fed funds rate, and that causes the mortgage rates to go up. So does inflation cause it to go up? But then as they start cut the as the inflation starts to come down, the next column, because they raise the rates, you see inflation goes from 14% down to 5 with Volcker, and then Alan Greenspan, it goes from 3.5 to 1. And then you can see what happens to mortgage rates as inflation comes down along with the rate cuts. They go from 18 to 12, which was terrible. I think that was in the 80s, long before I got in the business. And then if you look at Alan Greenspan, I believe this was in the 90s, they went from 8.5 to 5.5. So what this is the exact same trajectory that we're going through. They had to raise rates in order to stop the inflation that was taking off. Then the inflation starts to come down, then rates come down. And you can see they're pretty dramatic drops. I mean,
Yeah.
Alan Greenspan went from 8.5 down to 5.5. I feel like that's going to be a very similar trajectory to where we're at. I think we might even be lower than that 5.5, believe it or not, because they raised rates much more aggressively than he had to. I mean, he raised it from 4.7 to 6.5. We had 11 rate hikes. Now they have to cut, which was way more aggressive than his. So I think we're gonna, follow history here, and we're gonna see rates drop even further.
Love it, man. I know we had these conversations. I'm gonna get out of here real quick. I know
Mhm.
we've had these conversations in some of the trainings that we do. I think we said there's a little under 45 days now to make sure that we could get as many escrows in the pipeline to close by the end of the year. It's about
Mhm.
around that timeline, right?
Yes, sir. We have about 45 days. I would say the beginning of December, if we get a contract, we can still close. We can close in 2 or 3 weeks, but obviously depends on the client's how qualified they are, right?
Right.
Harder deals take longer. We all know that, but cleaner
Yeah.
deals are quicker. Anybody can close in 10 to 14 days on an easy deal. We can do that. So yeah, I'd say about 45 days is accurate. Yes, to
Awesome.
to get a closing to the closing table before the end of the year.
Cool. Yeah, no, I just wanted to put that out there. Of course, there's some urgency if you want to finish the year strong. And of
Hmm.
course, whatever doesn't close at the beginning or at the end of the year is set for the beginning of the year, and it's just going to help you guys start the year strong for 2026. Um, and finally, man, just to close off with some like mindset and motivation, what advice would you give? Let's just say anybody. We could go agent first and then we could go lender because man, if you're a lender, you're a great person to get these insights from. Um, if they're feeling any type of uncertainty right now in this market, what's a way that they can really just stay confident and making sure that they're guiding their clients in a proactive way right now in this market?
A lot of the uncertainty as an agent or a lender probably comes up from knowing that you're not doing the things you should be doing because
Mm,
confidence comes from the routine and doing the things you know you should do, even though you might be nervous about doing it, right? Such as marketing yourself. I
that's
can tell
good.
you that around the holidays, people will shut down, your competition will. That is a giant opportunity for everybody on this call or anybody that watches this that you're going to be able to put yourself out there more. Because if you
Yeah.
start marketing yourself more, that's just that much more access to clients, specifically through social media or whatever it is that you're using those outlets, because you're going to show up more when the people aren't showing up at all. Right. So you can really start your year out fantastic if you want to, but enjoy your holidays, but don't make that where it's a reason to shut down. Don't get caught up in the I'm going to drink pumpkin spice every day. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. And every day is going to be lighting a candle and enjoying my holidays. Like, enjoy the holidays, embrace those with your family, and have those moments. But around that time, this is your best time to be marketing.
Yeah.
I always think when my gas tank or everybody else's gas tank is going empty, I'm going to floor the gas. And you got to risk it for the biscuit to get to the gas station to fill your tank up. Well, it's the same thing with your business at the same time.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll have a better holiday too if you have some escrows in the pipeline,
Yes.
and that'll make your holiday even more special. But hey, Jason, bro, I really appreciate you jumping on the call
Thank you.
today. Where can anyone follow you just to give you that opportunity? Where you at
Uh,
on Instagram or
I call myself the Mortgage Smith because I manufacture mortgages and my last name's Smith basically. So you can follow me on there,
you were
Instagram,
destined.
Facebook.
Your name was destined for this, bro.
Yeah, I figured the Smith name comes from blacksmiths and stuff in the past. So that's what I fashion with what I do for a living for clients. So thank you,
That's
man.
good.
But yeah, that's where they can find me. I run a branch for Cross Country Mortgage. So I'm local. A lot of people know me here. So if you need me, let me know.
Yeah. And that's all we really have today. Jason, once again, thank you so much, man. For anyone that's on the call, don't be spooked out about rates, mortgage rates. Haha, get
Mm-mm.
it? Because it's Halloween this week. Yeah, right. Thank you guys so much for jumping on Make Your Mark. I do not have any updated class or events, but next week we'll make sure to keep you guys posted on everything. Uh, Set for a new month in November next week, and we should have a pretty good webinar as well. I think we'll be going over um, just some tips and tricks on how to build your referral base and get more referrals that way. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday and a great week,
Last
and we'll
thing,
talk
I'm
to you
gonna
soon.
say one thing.
Yes, sir.
Michael is amazing, guys. The best person I've ever worked with in the industry at Landmark Title. I swear to God, he's just a genuine person. And I'm gonna plug you, and I'm honored to be here with you, brother. Always to run with you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a testament to our team at Landmark, though. We have really great people. We got a great
Mhm.
collaborative team, just like you guys do at Cross Country Mortgage.
Thank you.
You got your whole team in Miami right now, right? That's
Most
pretty
of them,
cool.
not the whole one. We got to keep the wheels running, man.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Got to make sure everyone knows that you guys are still getting the ball rolling. But thank you so
Yes,
much
sir.
again, Jason. I'll talk to you later, okay,
Thank
brother?
you. Talk
Yes,
to you
sir.
later. Bye
Bye.
bye.